Today on The Now, we're talking about new ways to keep us from getting the flu. Why it could mean going to the doctor ahead of actually getting your regular flu shot. Plus, youth sports costing families tens of thousands of dollars a year. We're looking into this new reality that's forcing people to put off home payments, even borrowing money from their 401k. And these clothes may look pretty standard, but they actually have muscles built into them. How the company behind them hopes this can be a game changer for anyone with mobility issues.
Annie, thank you. I'm Mark Mullins, and this is the Now Indy on RTV6. It's summer, and that means it's time to take out the graham crackers, marshmallows, and a bar of chocolate. There's nothing like s'mores by the campfire. But before you head out for a weekend of camping in the woods, there are things you need to know. Working for you, our Erin Lish has tips from scouts to make sure you have a fun and safe camping experience.
There are more than 35,000 scouts here in central Indiana, and we have two of the best here showing their camping techniques.
It's very stress relieving to be out in nature.
For Cecilia and Eli, they love the outdoors. Eli says there are 6 essentials you need to be out in nature.
Water, snack, sunscreen or a hat, flashlight or whistle.
Make sure to pack bug repellent and have an emergency kit for your trip. Cecilia says learn first aid in case of any injuries.
You need to know what to do if that happens so that you can treat yourself.
Let someone know you're going camping, where you're going, and when you'll be back. Then look around for a site to set up. Scout members say pick an open space.
And you can see that there's a lot of debris that's away from the area. It's been common use before.
And don't set up too close to the fire.
Yeah, regulation with tent, you know, you're looking at maybe 10 to 15 feet away because embers will fly up.
When you start getting hungry, keep foods in tight containers, store them from all the wildlife, and cook food at a proper temperature to avoid food poisoning, but be safe while doing it.
One of the principles of safe cooking around the fire is have a fire as small as possible.
Scouts learn to cook with Dutch ovens.
And that's what the charcoal does. It's a very, very controlled way to put heat to our food.
Always have adult supervision
so that it doesn't get too steamy and the top of the pizza cooks like you think it should.
These ovens get to at least 400 degrees.
We'll put a couple sticks on here.
So don't forget your gloves.
Should be good.
Scouts say use sand or water to put out your fire when you go to bed or leave the site. And of course, enjoy your cooked meal and the camping adventure. Erin Lish, RTV6.
Some good food, and we've got plenty of heat here across central Indiana. Looking at some beautiful blue sky, that sunshine. Yeah, it is heating us up a little bit, and some clouds that are trying to build into a few isolated downpours. But out on Morse Reservoir, pretty nice afternoon. You got 91 in Greenwood and Muncie, 89 degrees right now in the Kokomo area, and a little bit of that humidity making it feel like the lower 90s, 92. The heat index right now in Muncie, it feels like 91 in Bloomington. Satellite and radar, things are fairly quiet. The bulk of the rain has been in Ohio today, but we have had one little shower here developing in southwestern parts of Randolph County, also just on the north side of Winchester. These should not last very long, but could have some isolated lightning or rumbles of thunder with them. Temperatures into the upper 70s by 9 o'clock. We'll see that sun setting at 9:17. Then as we go into the day tomorrow, we have our first no zone action day, so it's going to be some unhealthy air quality out there for some of us. We'll talk about the heat for the end of the week in a few minutes. Annie?
At least half of Americans have had a traumatic experience. Of those, 1 in 10 men and 2 in 10 women will develop PTSD. And since today is PTSD Awareness Day, we wanted to share a couple of stories of how people are healing.
Our mission was primarily to drop some of the most elite military forces off in a bad guy's front yard in the middle of the night to capture or execute them.
Deployed half a dozen times in Afghanistan. Veteran Special Operation Helicopter Crew Chief David Burnett went through experiences no training can prepare you for. Losing 3 soldiers in one mission.
I thought I was tough as nails and I wasn't going to be one of those statistics.
After he got out of the Army, Burnett started feeling lonely, having flashbacks and nightmares. He relied on alcohol and almost took his own life. During counseling at the VA, he started journaling.
It was through writing that I was able to cope with some of the things I was dealing with.
It turned into a book, Making a Night Stalker.
A lot of of times people think that the physical was the worst part of that day.
Rebecca Gregory and her son were 3 feet away when a bomb exploded during the Boston Marathon. Shortly after the attack, Rebecca and her son started experiencing symptoms of PTSD.
I remember the first thing that he said to me when I came home from being in the hospital for 56 days is, "Don't worry, Mom, we're never leaving this house again."
They both got into specialized therapy.
While it helped us with coping and managing our symptoms, I didn't feel like we were healing.
That was until she found the Inspired Performance Program and Accelerated Resolution Therapy.
You actually reprocess those traumatic memories.
Now through Rebecca's Angels Foundation, other children are getting the same help for trauma.
It really gave me peace beyond my own understanding of how much that I could actually feel whole again.
Rebecca's Angels website has information on where to find someone practicing accelerated resolution therapy. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline can also help find PTSD treatment, and that number is 1-800-273-8255. Well, we're learning this year's flu shot was the least effective in years, and now researchers are working on new ways to keep us from getting sick, and why it could mean going to the doctor before you even get the regular flu shot.
At Papa John's.
Right now, a man accused of rape and kidnapping is in a standoff with police in Boone County. Deputies say Lebanon officers spotted Paul Etter driving a stolen vehicle on State Road 39 near 300 North. When they pulled him over, deputies say Etter pulled out a gun. They set up a perimeter and began negotiating with Etter. Tippecanoe County deputies say on Saturday, Etter abducted a woman who had stopped to deal with a flat tire. Investigators say after holding her hostage for several hours and assaulting her, Etter let that woman go. Multiple law enforcement agencies are involved with the standoff with Etter. We will keep you updated on air here and at theindychannel.com.
Turning now to the news feed, the Trump administration could remove deportation protections for family members of active duty troops. This is according to attorneys with knowledge of this proposal. They say that family members of people serving overseas have been told that the program is ending. Well, Ford is putting an end to an offer from an Alabama dealership that promised a free shotgun with a car purchase. Yep, Ford said the offer was out of line after a shooting took place at a California dealership that killed 3 people. In Abercrombie & Fitch, they're going to be selling CBD-infused body care products. That includes scrubs and lip balms. Now, the products will be available in 160 stores. Well, the CDC says the last flu vaccine did not work against the new strain that popped up halfway through last season. Health experts estimate it was only about 29% effective. Now, typically, vaccines, they are about 40% effective. And now doctors are trying to find new ways to make the flu shot more effective. So researchers at St. Louis University are testing out a primer for the flu shot. So just like other primers, it's used before the main product. That means the vaccine primer is given about 3 months before the flu shot. Now, the primer is being called M2SR, and doctors say it could protect people against more flu strains because right now vaccines only protect against 2 strains. Now, the goal of the primer is to protect children because since 2018, the CDC says 119 children have died from flu complications. And doctors also say the flu spreads quicker between children than adults. And researchers at St. Louis University will be testing the primer on children ages 9 to 17. Okay, back to our lineup. Youth sports is now a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the cost for families is just getting out of control.
Sometimes I'll have to be late on a payment on a car, home, cell phone. We just gotta call with them and ask them if they could extend, if we can make payment on it.
Well, that dad even borrowed from his 401k to pay for a trip to his kids' tournament. Coming up, we're finding out that's not the only problem with the rising cost of youth sports.
RTV6 is working for you.
One company is taking wearable technology to a whole new level with robotic clothing. Chris Welch got an inside look to find out how it all works.
At first glance, you'd never know that Rich Mahoney's clothes are different.
Underneath his shirt and his pants is what he calls robotic clothing.
It's like a layer of extra muscles integrated into your clothing around your body.
Mahoney is the CEO of Seismic, a company that's created a sort of jumpsuit, and sewn inside it are robotic muscles positioned along the hip and around the abdomen.
Kind of like your tendons harness your biological muscle to your skeleton. So those muscles, when they turn on, they pull on your body, on the outside of your body.
The clothing is designed to give a user extra strength, whether someone is standing still or moving.
The intention of this is to allow people to be more mobile.
He hopes it could assist seniors with walking and even alleviate back pain in people of all ages.
I just turned on this mode that we call standing support. So now I have tightened the extensor and the flexor, and I have this extra support around my waist.
Because it's still a prototype, Seismic did not want us to see the working components up close, and each suit they have is tailored to specific users.
Do your best to describe what it feels like when it turns on.
Yeah, so you basically feel like you're automatically you're changing the tightness of clothes that you're wearing. Like, think of it that way, that you just put on a pair of shorts that's a little bit tight, and then you put on another pair that's really, and then you put on the tightest possible shorts that could fit on you, right? And that's happening in a way that's automatic. And as it's happening, it's supporting you, it's creating this extra strength.
Mahoney says their goal is to make this extra strength available to consumers for under $5,000. Reporting in Menlo Park, California, I'm Chris Welch.
Thank you, Chris. Indianapolis mayoral candidate Jim Merritt unveiled the first of his 3 policy proposals aiming to make the city safer if he becomes mayor. Merritt announced his SOS plan, which stands for Safety, Opportunity, and Streets. He discussed safety at an event on Indy's northeast side this morning. Merritt said that he would appoint a deputy mayor who will focus exclusively on public safety. This person would oversee the police and fire departments in Indy. Merritt also pushed for better and more recruiting of IMPD officers. He said staffing shortages have hurt the city's policing efforts.
The fact is that new hires have barely kept pace with the retirements. We must address this issue with more creative recruiting, better training, and better equipment for our police officers.
Merritt said he couldn't answer questions about how much his plan would cost yet. The Hogsett campaign has responded to Merritt's announcement. In a statement, campaign spokesperson Heather K. Sager said, quote, Mayor Hogsett has been leading the way to ensure that neighborhood-based public strategies are a focus. Funding decisions are made based on data and research, and that strategies within IMPD are generated from the beat officer up rather than civilian bureaucrats down, end quote.
We are getting so close to that weekend, and of course next week a lot of you may have a shortened week with the 4th of July holiday coming up, but you can see the beautiful canal there, and you're really in pretty good shape. Just an isolated rain chance out there this evening, and that's going to be the case right through the upcoming weekend. Only 20% both Saturday and Sunday. So a lot of dry time. That also means the temperature will continue to climb here. Look at all the 80s and 90s back off to the west, taking up a good chunk of real estate out there this afternoon. It's 87 for you right now in Bloomington. Pair of 8s on the thermometer in Columbus and 86 in Indianapolis. Tonight, we cool back into the upper 60s to around 70 degrees with partly cloudy skies, and tomorrow quite a bit of sunshine in the forecast really here with a light southwest wind, so we'll see those temperatures jump from 72 at 8 a.m. to the middle 80s already at noon, and about 90 degrees for that afternoon high. 90 for you in Kokomo, 90 in Anderson, 88 in Frankfort. We'll look at upper 80s in Martinsville. Brazil coming in at 88 degrees and around 90 in Seymour and Columbus. Last year our first 90-degree day was May 27th. That's when we hit 91. We've got a couple of chances to get there here over the next several days with highs upper 80s to right around 90 degrees. Again, that small chance for a shower Saturday and Sunday afternoon, and we'll keep it toasty going into early next week. Annie.
Let's start the Now News feed with an update on a little girl hit by a baseball last month. Now, the 2-year-old was hit at a Houston Astros game. The family's attorney says that she fractured her skull and had a seizure. She also dealt with bruising and swelling. Well, more older cars are on the roads in the U.S. That's according to a new report from a data company. Right now, the average age of cars and trucks nearly 12 years old. Well, the U.S. Virgin Islands cracking down on sunscreen. Lawmakers there passing a bill that bans the sale of sunscreens that contain materials that could harm the ocean. They want people to look for brands that won't harm the coral and other ocean species. Youth sports is about more than just the game these days. Parents shell out big bucks for it. But a recent Compare Card survey found more than half of parents go into debt because of the cost. Chris Stewart looks at why some parents say it's worth it and what some say needs to change.
12-year-old Luke Martinez spends most weekends right here, fielding grounders and ripping liners into the outfield. He plays for San Antonio's Alamo Drillers, the top 12 and under baseball team in America.
It's on a different level. It's on elite level.
The Martinez family spends most weekends on the road, traveling cross-country to tournaments.
Having to go from Houston to Dallas to Lake Charles, Louisiana, Sulphur, Louisiana, Beaumont, Texas.
Between meals, hotels, and gas, the family forks over $300 to $500 a weekend, and it's money they don't always have.
Sometimes I have to be late on a payment on a car, home, cell phone. We just got to call with them and ask them if they could extend if we can make payment on it.
I figured because we have everything we need, we have food on the table, clothes on their back, vehicles to drive, we have a roof over our head, we can go ahead and be behind on some bills.
And for baseball?
For baseball. For baseball, because that's what he loves to do. And as a mom, I'm going to do everything I can to make him happy.
Those financial decisions may sound extreme, but in today's world,
it'll be 10 for them.
Youth sports can rack up quite the tab.
It's because the costs of playing in a league or travel ball are significant. So some of those families are spending $2,500. Some of those families are spending $15,000, $25,000 a year.
Dev Patik helps communities and investors develop massive youth sports facilities across the country.
Construction and development boom that we're certainly part of, that's sweeping the country. Hundreds of millions of dollars in sports assets being developed for tournaments.
And places like Westfield, Indiana are proof of that. Less than a decade ago, this city near Indianapolis was looking for an identity and something to do with hundreds of acres of farmland.
And so we decided youth sports.
Now, $85 million later, that farmland has 26 baseball diamonds, 31 sport fields, and other facilities that draw youth travel sports teams from across the country. 2.5 million people come here every year for tournaments and games. Come on, Aaron. Parents like these two, who drove 6 hours from Green Bay, Wisconsin, pump millions into Westfield's economy at hotels and restaurants.
Well, yeah, the money's there, obviously. I mean, you're spending the money, but it's the experiences are definitely, 2 more years, they're off to college, and this is kind of done. But yeah, so it's worth it.
We've seen more than $700 million in economic development, and that's in the ground and in the pipeline. That's pretty significant for a city, 40,000 people.
But the changing landscape and rising cost of youth sports has created a problem.
Kids in lower income households, they don't have the ability to access sport anymore. It's become so privatized, and the public sector stepped so far outside of it that it's left low income families without access to sport.
Kids like Luke Martinez, his dad recently borrowing money from his 401k to help pay for a trip to New York for a tournament next month. A move some may consider drastic, but the Martinez family considers it money well spent, no matter what anyone else may think.
We're not living our life through our child. No, he likes it, he loves it. This is his passion.
I'm Chris Stewart reporting.
Very eye-opening. Thank you, Chris. Well, next in our lineup, a plastic surgeon is going to be weighing in on how social media and filters are changing the game in cosmetic surgery, including how it impacts how much money people make.